Templates, something that I never thought I would rely on so much. But sometimes you just have an idea and you want to get them out as fast as possible, or you want to kind of explore different things while kind of preparing. In either case, having a template makes it going from ideas to something that actually makes sense very simple and fast. Of course, there is no one template fits all, and also you kind of need some sort of workflow to base a template on. But this is how I build mine. When I make my kind of templates or something that is very repetitive in my kind of workflow, that I usually have a musical or a instrument sample part, then effects like bosses, and then I have the main kind of effects, don't like master tracks or kind of like remix effects that I used to do. For my musical instruments, I usually have drum, bass, keys, and samples. And also I reserve one or two inputs from like external gears, synths, and things like that. And then for my for my effects, I usually have like buses effects that I send for delays, reverb, some chorus, and then some textures. And then of course on my main outputs, we always have like either bus before the main output or something like that. But on these kind of main outputs, I usually have like things like compressors, remix effects, and like other kind of like effects that will apply to the whole track. So right now I have an empty template in Logic, so I will just start with quick sampler as kind of an example. For me, I like my first couple of buses, so let's say 1 to 5, to be like I'll call them kind of generic effects. So these are the effects that kind of applies every time to each instrument piece. So that would be like delays, reverb, and these kind of things. So let me first create those. So right now I just created 5 buses. So these will be my musical pieces. So this will be my drums. Of course, I will have to create a track stack, a summoning track for each of these. Coloring is important, but first let me also arrange my effects. So I like to start with the designation of the effects. So let's say this will be delay. So now I will just arrange my colors. Well, maybe let's try to get something going so we can hear it. For my drums, I always have like 3 drums to always start. So kick, we'll name this kick, and then the rest. I mean, I need to name the kick because this is the one that I use for a sidechain. So this is where the buses eventually will come to effects. So I will go to my delay, and then I will use the ping pong. So that is there, and all I gotta do is send this to my delay effects. And then I would like to create a reverb. I really like the bright small room. I will use Arturia's chorus, kind of Juno emulation chorus. And on my texture, of course I'm sending all of this, but in my case scenario, I don't think I would need to send every single one this to all of my buses. Maybe I will just send it to the reverb and delay for now. And on this sample, so the cool thing about having a track stack is that I can either apply effects to this main the singular instruments, or I can directly apply this to the bus itself. Kind of something really simple. For example, the clap, I would like the clap to be sent to a bus. That would be cool for a clap. Something like this. I will just add maybe a little bit of duck to this sample. So right now I will create another track, another audio track. These will be my inputs. Let me create a track stack for this, and this still goes to the main stereo out. So right now I have my input. This will be eventually external gears, samples, drums, bass, keys, all of my effects, and then my stereo out. Now this is the cool part. For me, I want a few levels of control before I go to the stereo out. Let's say I'll create a bus. I guess maybe bus 15, I think. And I also want to create something in bus 16. So this will be my main instruments, and then this will be, I will name this my submix. So the idea is that all of these will go to instrument, and my main instrument bus will then go to my submix. If you see, like, so I have like a levels of kind of increase in control as I go to the stereo out, because the main idea is that if you're only relying on the stereo out, then you kind of get limited on eventually what you can do. So the idea is that I want to put as much buses as I can between the track and the stereo out. So this is my main instruments. On this I can add anything like something to maybe boost my signals. So the idea is that before my track, this sample hits the main stereo out, it goes through this first. Yes. I can also add other things in here. For now, just put the boost in there. And then on my submix, which I treat my submix as like a kind of a child of the stereo out, it's in this submix that I put like my limiters and things like that. So if I put a soft limiter in this, my soft limiter then hits first and then it goes to the stereo out. And then because of, I guess, how remix effects is kind of a weird thing, but then I put remix effects on my main stereo out. If I want to put like an EQ, I think one of these is a pretty cool EQ. This vintage tube EQ is a pretty cool one. And the cool thing about this submix bus is that you don't necessarily like need to change it every time. This is kind of something that you just leave there and then it's just there. At least the way I use it. So I add all the necessary things in here, like an EQ, and then I just leave it there. And then this kind of gets me to the similar music, not similar music, but similar things as I get in, and then everything is just there. All I gotta do is just focus on creativity and make stuff rather than like play around with this. Of course, you gotta be a little bit careful because since you have all of these kind of levels of instruments and buses, you can always watch how the value of the main output, the main stereo out. So eventually you have to rearrange and mix things properly to get like the ideal value here. As far as template, I guess this is the gist of a template, but something that can be also, it goes deeper. Me, I prefer my global quantization to be at 164. So that kind of like, I'm not really into the quantizing stuff that much, but if I have to, then I like it to be at like 164, and that gives me like a little bit of rooms to move around. So the key is pretty simple, pretty straightforward. 4 on the floor. Then this when the, I guess, the sidechain come in. So one thing I do on my bass, I really like this I think Logic's amp, and it is the 70 is solid. I really like having this on my bass. For my bass, I think I'll prefer a Spitfire, the guitar amp. I did a little kind of changes here and there. So first on my my main out, I added OTT. So I couldn't really hear the kick. And then on my kick, I added a little bit of gain, a bit of EQ, and a bit of overdrive. I think that kind of brings everything up. And then on my main drum, because I kind of want to work the drums, on my main drums I added a compressor, and then I added the fuzz effects. This kind of adds a little bit of boost. I added a little bit of console EQ. These are kind of to be adjusted, of course. And then I added a little bit of limiter. So I sent my main sub mix again to another bus. This can be like a bus effects, but I sent my sub mix to another bus, which I added a bus amp. But just a little bit goes a long way. So that's how we kind of build the bass template. Of course, so many things can be done after this. For my personal case, I like to add arrangements directly into the template. So I will have my intros, verses, chorus, outros, and things like that. So then I can use these as a guide. Inputs, we haven't really touched upon the inputs, but if I have like a synth or the Korg monotone delay, and you just plug it in and then record it from here. Of course, you need to adjust your inputs depending on how you route it from your audio interface. I have all my samples and things like that. But yes, this is kind of a base for templates. So to kind of sum up my whole process of making templates is that I need my instruments. So that is drum, bass, keys, samples, and inputs. And then I will have my effects. The one that I use the most are delays, reverb, chorus, textures. And then on top of that, I will have my out mixes. So like instruments, bus, sub mix, and then maybe another mix on top of that. So it goes to the stereo out. The idea is that you want to kind of put more onto the buses before it goes to the stereo, because you know the stereo out is there. You can't really do much when it comes to the stereo out. So yeah, that is it. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.